Have you ever wondered why religious songs are often so emotional, maybe even dramatic? Okay. The songs are hard to forget because they are repetitive. All right. And as you continue to elevate in your consciousness after you have elevated beyond religion, you're going to find out or realize how the songs that you sang in church from Sunday service to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, however many times you went to church throughout the week, all right, you're going to understand that those songs had nothing to do with faith, but they had everything to do with control. All right. And so that's what we're going to focus on in this episode. See, religion knows the power of frequency because that's what a song is. A song vibrates at a certain frequency or frequencies. And that is so effective when it comes to religious songs caging people's minds because we are energetic beings vibrating on certain frequencies. Okay, so religion knows this, all right? And so we're going to talk about how religious songs, and I do have a specific example that we can all relate to, how religion uses the songs to keep people caged. And we're going to talk about how religion has used the power of frequency to keep people caged by influencing the words that you have even spoken on your own life, even after leaving religion, even after stepping away and out of the church. Why is that important to know? Because, and I always say this, you can walk away from church, you can walk away from your religion. However, it takes another level of elevating your nervous system and elevating your identity to experience the total freedom. Total freedom, not in just your spirituality, but that internal freedom, that internal expression. Of course, you're going to experience elevation in your physical environment. The two go together. And if you are not, you've walked away from the church and you still don't feel free, it is because there is religious programming that is still operating in your life. And 9 times out of 10, it's by what you say because of how you've been influenced by, in this case, songs, religious songs. So, for example, this is one we all know. And it's going to be a particular song that we're all familiar with, that we have heard at funerals. We probably even sang the song ourselves with families. Perhaps, if you come from a family that's very religious, maybe you sang it after a family prayer, okay, of some sort. So the song is Amazing Grace. All right. Yeah. As soon as I said that, you probably finished out that first lyric, that first line of that song. All right. Now, first of all, what's interesting about that song is it was written by a slave ship captain. Okay. And this guy, well, the story goes that this guy, when he realized how deplorable it was for him to be a part of, to have played a part in the most violent assaults against humanity, which is the transatlantic slave trade, in his attempt to, find redemption, find salvation, find God, find Jesus, whatever, he wrote this song. Okay. So he was trying to find forgiveness, okay, for being a part of the transatlantic slave trade. And he wrote this song, Amazing Grace. And that first line, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch. And then you fill in the blank with what he said, because I refuse to say that. Okay. What is a wretch, though? What is a wretch? We can go to dictionary.com. Dictionary.com gives us a very simple yet terrible definition, because when I say terrible, when I give you the definition, you have to think, when you have sang that song over and over and over and over and over again, this is what you're speaking about yourself. The definition of a wretch is a person of poor quality. A person of poor quality. A person who is in a constant state of misfortune. A person who is unfortunate by nature. That is what a wretch is. So can you imagine? You've sang this song over and over and over and over and over again. I'm getting my head of myself, but I have to say this right now. You cannot underestimate how that has affected your consciousness. You cannot underestimate how that has negatively influenced your identity and how you see yourself today if you have not done identity and nervous system work after leaving religion. That programming is still operating in your life. It is still very much alive in your life. Okay. Now, going back to that song, well, the song should have stayed with him, but unfortunately it did not, because to keep the transatlantic slave trade, to keep slavery going, religion was used to keep African prisoners subdued, to keep them, quote, in line, to keep them, quote, obedient. Religion was used, including that song, and that song found its way into the mouths of Africans, into the mouths of their children, and into their lineage, into the mouths of the children that they conceived and were born in the Americas. So you can go into any Black church, and yes, I'm going to make this specific because to melanated people, to Black people, I'm a Black woman here in America. You can go into any traditional Black church and you will hear this song, especially at funerals. And it is sang with force. It is sang loud. People who sing it, they sing it loud and with a lot of emotion. So that's just one example of religious songs and how it has kept people caged. So songs like Amazing Grace carry words of poverty. It carries an energy and a frequency of poverty. It carries a frequency of struggle. It carries a frequency of hardship, because it's attacking the mind. That frequency starts to rest in your nervous system and it becomes your identity. Why? Because songs carry frequencies and energies. Songs can, and we can replace songs with sound. Why is it important for you to know this? On an energetic level, sounds can open up portals. Sounds can call up and down energies. Sounds can invite energies and frequencies. We could say entities. Sound can also awaken your ancestors. This is why on the plantation, Africans were kept separate from each other, because the colonizers knew of the power of sound and song and what that could do. If they got too many Africans together, that would cause an uprising, a shakeup, and it would destroy and dismantle the control that the colonizers, their intent, the colonizers attempt to control, which the attempt they did, okay, they succeeded. But I digress. But you see the point that I'm making here. So it is a sound that makes that connection. And religion used the sound to make the connection to your mind to cause you to forget your sovereign identity. Now, how do you reclaim that power so that you can reclaim the truth of your identity, so that you can reclaim your spiritual technology, so that you can reclaim your sovereign identity? What do? You reclaim the power of your sound by speaking to connect with your frequency. You start to operate in the power of your throat chakra. I will say this over and over and over again. That has been one of the main ways that over time I have liberated myself from the chains of religious programming. Again, I'm not talking about while I was in church, in religion. I'm talking about years after I left that religious programming. Because of the songs that I sang in church, that religious programming was still finding its way in my life. It was still in operation because the words that I had spoken through those terrible songs, okay, i.e. Amazing Grace, they just sound different. Okay, the songs sound different, but the frequency is the same to keep you controlled in your mind. So I haven't seen these signs in a while, but have you ever seen those signs, those church signs that'll say on Sunday, 9 o'clock traditional service, 12 o'clock contemporary service? They're talking about the songs. Some people like the traditional, slow, religious songs. And then there's some people that like the upbeat, quote, contemporary songs. So in the Black church, the Black church has taken songs that have the same frequency as Amazing Grace, and they have flipped it to where it sounds more almost like R&B. I remember when I went to the club all the time, and there was a song, what was the name of that song? What was it? But it was a church song that sounded like an R&B song. You could actually dance to it, and it was played in the club several times. It was played in the club, and and especially after a few drinks, it takes you a minute to realize, oh, wait a minute, is this a church song played in the club? Okay, fine. Not that there is anything wrong with it, but I'm just using that as an example. Just because it sounds different does not mean that it is. It is still carrying the same chains of religious programming. Okay? Really because of the words that are used. And you don't think, okay, the song, it sounds good and you're singing it and it's catchy, the beat is catchy, but you're not really paying attention to what you're saying. And this is just a side note. I'm kind of going off the rails here. But we don't have to use that in the case of just religious songs. We can use that. This can apply to any song. You have to be cognizant of what is coming out of your mouth as a sovereign being, because your words are agents. The words that you speak are agents. And in order to get in that consciousness, you have to begin with recognizing how powerful your own sound is. And that comes from recognizing how powerful your own breath is. So that is why we're talking about this. Start to get into the practice of listening to your own breath and paying attention to when you speak. There is a humming, there is a vibration that is happening in your body. That is power. I'm listening, I'm paying attention right now as I speak. That is power that is coming through you, that is pulsating through your body. It's time for you to begin to recognize that again. It is very easy to do. You can start to implement the practice throughout your day by putting your hand on your chest to feel that humming sound. That is power. That is your vibration. That is your frequency. You can begin to do that. Implement that every single day. I don't care if you're at Scooters ordering coffee. Pay attention to that humming, to that vibration. That is how you begin to be intentional with the words that you use. When you're speaking about yourself, when you're speaking about your own desire, when you're speaking about what you want to see happen in your life every day. All right? I support you in doing that. That's one of the ways that I support you, by helping you to elevate, to be completely free, to be completely liberated, so that religious programming is no longer operating anywhere in your life ever again. All right? Be completely free. Go to unleashedalchemy.com. There are 2 ways that you can work with me. There is a 24-session package that you can sign up for to work with me. I do offer one-time 55-minute sessions. Please keep in mind that regardless of which option you choose, these are video sessions. All right? I do video session. I want you to be able to see me. I want to see you. Okay? Also, I have books. I have ebooks that I've written that also support you in your sovereignty. All right. I also have individual courses. Also be on the lookout too. I'm thinking of opening back up my membership. All right. So I want your feedback. Let me know what you would like to see, what would be helpful to you if you were to be a part of a membership that supports you in your elevation, in your spirituality, connecting with your spiritual technology, connecting with the spirituality in your lineage. All right? In your lineage, because your ancestors before religion, they had spiritual technology. All right? So give me some feedback. Leave me a comment and let me know. All right? And until next time, be sovereign.